My biggest takeaway from this is that it's never too late to become the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And the best part, if you woke up today, there's still time.
One thing that I appreciate so much about Derek as a speaker is that he really takes the time to know who his audience is, and he adapts his program in order to make it more engaging for the audience.
My name is Derek Deprey, and I'm a speaker, author, and coach. And I really help people to unleash their inner leader through a process called Fit to Lead, which is all about leading yourself, leading people, and then leading teams. And you put those three things together, and then you have this strong or invigorating culture. I need to go back and find and form my core values. Think about what my personal vision is for the next chapter of my life, and really understand what I'm deeply passionate about.
I truly appreciate that vulnerability and transparency to say that, like, I've done this and here's what I've learned from it. I'm going to share that with you so I save you time, and you can do it better.
The audience is going to walk away with staying in their job. They're going to stay in your company because they're going to now know who they are and where they're going, and they already know where you're going and who you are as an organization, and they're going to see this weaving and blending together, and they're going to be like, that's why I'm going to stay here the rest of my career, because I can truly be myself and bring my authentic self to work every single day.
I know that he's dependable. I know that he's professional. And out of all of the speakers that I've booked throughout the United States, he really takes the most time to be engaging with our audience.
They're going to be inspired. They're going to walk away motivated and inspired to not be the same person they were yesterday. They're going to be motivated to change.
But Derek has so many different ways to impact your organization, and thankful for what he did for my team. We're still seeing the results, and I'm a huge Derek fan. You need to get him in.
I want to work in basketball. I want to work in the NBA level. So I went back to my chair and I started handwriting every single NBA head coach, every single NBA general manager. And I got a rejection letter. I got a rejection letter from tons of different teams. But you know what? I kept writing and writing and writing. And I finally got one team to say yes, and that was with the Milwaukee Bucks. Here's the point. Think about that one thing that you want to do afraid. What is that one thing you want to do afraid? Where would you be okay going 1 for 2 like I did? Or if you consider all those hand notes, 1 for 300, would it be worth it to you?
Meaningful work doesn't always mean fun, but it always means it's something that you care about. And I want to ask you a question. Would you go the distance for your calling? Would you do whatever it takes for the things that bring you deep meaning?
I have been to a lot of seminars, and let me tell you, this was the best seminar ever.
I think aligning your values and your actions and all that together, it leads to success and fulfillment, because you don't turn minutes or hours on and off every single day. You also don't turn who you are off and on every single day. You're able to be laser focused and fully present and in the moment with whatever you are doing. That's how you live a fulfilled life. To do what you love as much as possible. How can you live your best day ever over and over and over and over again? Leading yourself is all about finding and forming who you are, your values, your vision, being committed to wellness, how to manage stress and sleep and food, exercise, water, and then it goes into leading people. And leading people is that journey where you're really in the trenches, like managing people. People report to you, and you learn how to give feedback, assign or delegate work, set expectations, drive or hold people accountable to those expectations. And I feel once you can lead yourself, you can lead people. And then when you can lead people one-on-one, you're more likely to be able to lead a team. And leading teams, it's all about connecting with other people, going out and appreciating people, learning how to run a meeting. And if you can lead yourself, lead people, and lead teams, then you're more equipped to lead your own organization.
Right now I work for a company called ETE Reman. It stands for Engine Transmission Exchange. I have no idea how I got in the car business because I know nothing and I have no passion for cars and vehicles at all. And they're like, perfect, that's why you're hired, because we don't want anybody to know anything about that. So you can focus on what we really need help with. And the past 2 weeks, we've been having, learning how to do feedback in difficult conversations and things like that. We have this quality team to make sure our transmissions are rebuilt better than the original transmission that's coming back to us. And the quality team is all about this form right here, non-compliance form. And it's all about, we're going to find something wrong with our transmission, and we're going to give it to the manager of the person that's responsible for that piece of the transmission, and they have to figure out how to fix that problem. And they're wondering why the process isn't working. But guess what? There's no relationship. There's no trust built. Every time you have a conversation with that person, it's about, this is what I did wrong. It's never about what I did right. So they just keep pushing away. There's an underground, underneath ETE, with all this gossip saying, I don't like this person. All he does is catch me do something wrong all the time. So what we're going to try to implement is something called ETE box, where the quality team is going to own the ETE box, and it's for them. Instead of just going out with this form, it's to go out and let's try to catch these people doing something right. Because I guarantee you there's 30 to 40 good things out there before every bad non-compliance form needs to go out there. According to Harvard Business Review, they did some research a few years ago, and there's a magic ratio on feedback. And what they found is that the magic ratio is depositing 5 positives for every 1 piece of constructive feedback. If it's lower than that, if it's all constructive, you're not going to have the relationship or the trust. If it's like 20, 30, 40 to 1 with all good stuff, it's too much fluff, and you're not going to grow and develop and move the needle on things. So again, if you have a lot of difficult conversations and you're dreading them and you're not seeing the results you want to see, check your positive feedback. How much positive information are you pouring into other people? So the big idea, why are we here? To give frequent, helpful feedback. To give frequent, helpful feedback. That's why we're here. So I just want to mention one thing. This workshop typically built between 3 and 4 hours. So I apologize, you're not going to be here for 3 to 4 hours. I know you really want to be here till noon today. So we're going to be going through some pieces really, really fast and some really, really slow. Okay? But the good news is I will make sure that if you miss some underlines and things like that in your handout, I'm more than happy to send an entire completed packet. But I wanted to get you everything, even though this is a shorter workshop than normal. So the learning outcomes, you can kind of read these for yourself as well. 6 big learning outcomes today. And really what I want you to leave here today is to really learn how to use the SPI3 process. So my goal, and I don't like to share times because I'm always off with times, unless it's basketball practice, is the last 30 minutes to be able to apply SPI3. So I'm going to have to teach SPI3 before we go and apply it. All right, so we know what feedback is. Why is feedback important? Anybody want to share? What comes to your mind when you think of the question? Why is feedback important? Growth.
Nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah, right on. Nothing changes if nothing changes. What else?
Constant improvement.
Constant improvement.
Self-evaluation is limited.
Awesome. Self-evaluation is limited. Good. One more. Not everybody at once.
Fosters good communication.
Perfect. Fosters good communication. Here's some that came up already. Some new ones up here. Again, I just want to keep emphasizing appreciation, positive feedback. SPI3 is not just for difficult conversations. It can also be for positive feedback. That's another piece we're going to cover with it. Some more reasons. Helps you win together. Celebrate success. Get better every day. Helps you show you care about other people. WLC core values. It can help you live your core values at WLC if you're giving feedback. It's hard to be a Christ-centered university if you're not giving feedback. It's hard to strive for academic excellence if you're not giving constant, frequent, helpful feedback over time. For you data people, let's dive into the data a little bit. Again, Ron, why feedback is important. Well, 94% of feedback recipients state that corrective feedback improves their performance. So it's hard to improve your performance if you're not giving good, helpful feedback. 70% indicated that my performance and possibilities for success in my career would have been increased substantially if I had been given more feedback. Another reason to give more feedback is because people actually want more feedback. And for all you teachers, raise your hand if you're a teacher. Yeah, read this one. This should sink in. This feedback was deemed magical. And this can be applied to difficult conversations in the workplace as well. What a great way to end a difficult conversation. I'm giving you these comments because I have very high expectations of you, and I know that you can reach them. So instead of just saying, thank you for having this conversation with me, how about changing it to like, I believe in you. That's why. And connecting it to their goals, to their dreams, whatever it is. So in your small groups, let's have this mini conversation. So what I want you to do, let's go, we have 5 tables right here. Why don't we go these 3 tables in your groups? Why don't you discuss the first questions right here? Have you observed or experienced harmful feedback? And what specifically was harmful? So this can be your experience with WLC, before that, whatever. Okay? So you 3 tables will discuss that. Your 2 will discuss, have you observed or experienced helpful feedback? If so, what specifically was helpful? Any questions before that discussion? Okay.
I'll explain. I feel like here's the so there's what I guess we're like that's where I feel like that's what I say because I'm all for providing ideas. You're constantly assuming. So I'm going to me some feedback, which is conversation. No, so yes, I'm giving some space. Ways of every kind of feedback. That's what I'm going to do. So I wasn't thinking yeah, right. So it's and I remember it was just stuff up there. You know, still working though. Also, how much so it's like then things come up. I just find like this areas of if you're not always open to this stuff, everyone can say that when HR to do position. You know, you can't right? Because I want to me, sometimes what we school and I was being criticized, just criticized. She was so sure that and I was like, it's not speaking this. The majority of jobs. It's in feedback. So between
all right, we'll take about 1 more minute. 1 more minute.
Patient.
Meetings seem like I would plan to leave it or it could be
for you. Ask your mom for the good stuff. It's not right to say. Like tiny differences. Like here's a way to do it. And then the house broke.
All right, let's just pause where we're at. We could probably have these conversations all day long, especially the bad examples probably. So let's start on this side of the room. Who wants to share an example of harmful feedback and why it was harmful? Yeah, please.
So, we will share is a kind of a common thing is no feedback. We're not giving the feedback until there's the problem, and then now it's fixed right away. But there wasn't any time where the work where the transition happened to improve.
Perfect. So no feedback at all. So you're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and things probably built up. Maybe a boss even wanted somebody fired because they weren't doing it, but that manager that was right next to the employee never gave the feedback, but the boss is seeing it. So that could be a buildup of something really bad that happened. Good. Let's give one big clap for this group. There we go. Yep. Teachers do cheesy things. So this is my time to do it back to you all. Okay. All right. Let's take one more example of harmful feedback. Jason.
The spirit of the feedback is given.
Ooh, I like it.
Intended to actually build personality, build that. That's
Yeah. Yeah. It can be like, you did that again? Right? That sounds horrible. It feels bad. Good. 2 claps. All right, let's go helpful. Bring the energy back in this room. Like we were hugging people before. Let's go.
You can do it.
Specific.
Perfect.
To the point. To also present ideas. Sometimes people don't know how to fix it unless you help them figure it out. Knowing the why behind the feedback,
Perfect.
why it might be important, or what's the bigger picture. Informal and regular, make it conversational, and then ask open-ended questions, which goes with the conversation, so that it might be like self-realized.
Good. It's 2-way. Right. It's not just one-sided all the time. Good. 3 claps. All right. So let's dive in. Let's go harmful. 8 characteristics of harmful feedback. Like I said, I'm going to fly through some things. That's what I'm going to fly through. Vague, not specific enough. Like it could be like, your email was sloppy. Versus like, I noticed you had a few spelling errors in your email. Big difference. Untimely, we talked about that. Judgmental, criticizing the person versus the behavior. Like with my daughter with basketball, like, what was wrong with your shot last night? You didn't make anything. That's judgmental. One side, we talked about emotional, displaying negative emotions, and then public, like correcting in front of others. I used to work at Marquette, and I'm not going to name the head coach at the time. It was a long time ago. But yeah, don't go on Facebook. But I just remember, like in the moment, it felt so bad. But he would just ream us in front of everybody all the time. And it creates this fear. And you just don't want to, as cool as your job is, and everybody thinks your job is so cool working at Division I basketball level, inside, it was awful at times. Because you're getting yelled at in front of everybody else, you think you're a failure. So just keep in mind of how you're criticizing, make sure you're not doing it in public. Like what Jordan learned, I don't know if he learned or not, because he did a poor job of this. Everybody checked his football from a few years ago.
This is Jeremy Ladd had this big go-ahead shot that's going to ultimately be the game winner. Well, Malik Monk comes out on the floor. He's supposed to be on the bench. You can't do that. Afterward, Michael Jordan is like, don't do that.
You got it twice. Right. So let's not do that at WLC. We'll be on the news the next day. We're sure right away. So discipline in private, not in public. How about positive feedback? Can positive feedback be harmful? Can positive feedback be harmful? What are your... Ooh, I like that. If it's not true.
If that's all you're giving.
Oh, right. Good. If that's all you do. Great ones.
It's directed to one person way more than others. If you're on a team, that whole
Love that. The whole favoritism piece can be an issue. So positive feedback can be harmful, can be insincere, not genuine, might have a hidden agenda, not tailored, not delivering in the right way. So not tailored could be, great job, great job, great job. Do you hear that ever? And if you do hear that, you probably don't hear it anymore. Because it's just being said too much and means nothing to you. Insincere, you finally did that right. Yeah, right. Helpful. Let's talk about helpful feedback. I'm an acronym dork, I really am. So we're gonna go booster on positive feedback. I'm gonna fly through this again. I want to get applying stuff and get to SBI 3 as quickly as possible. Look at Proverbs 15:1. I love this. Soft word turns away wrath. Harsh word stirs up anger. The words you say matter. The words you use matter. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I don't think that's true at all, especially with giving feedback. Booster, be balanced. Focus on things to improve upon and things done well. Again, I can't say this enough. I want this anchored in here. 5-1, 5-1, 5-1. If you have to have a difficult conversation, but you've not built that person up with positive stuff, wait to have that difficult conversation. Or make sure that difficult conversation is happening with the person who has the relationship. Oh, observed. This is the secret sauce. Like, I think as a leader, manager, teacher, whatever it is, be intentional about what you want to pay attention to every day. Like, what do you want to observe every day? In the athletic club business, there's a lot of things going on. Machines breaking. People, unfortunately, not making it to the bathroom in time. There's a lot of nasty things that happen in a health club as well. So you're in fires all the time. So it's important, before I start my day, it's do a club walkthrough. Don't just go in, go behind the desk, check all your emails, take all the phone calls, put all the fires out. Do that in 15 minutes. Go in and connect with people first, and then be intentional about, what do I want to observe and pay attention to that day? Personal training. I'm going to watch the personal training. I'm not going to be creepy and awkward and just stare at Yeah. But I'm going to chat with some people, and I'm just going to pay attention to what's going on. I'm a human. And, you have this personal trainer that's really engaged with his clients, standing up, they're helping correct and coach. And this other trainer is just do your lunges, 10 of them. And they're paying $120 an hour for that. Which trainer do you want to train with? So be specific about who you're going to give the feedback to, so I can praise that person and hopefully I caught this person doing something right in the past, so I can coach and have that difficult conversation. Objective. Avoid subjective comments, tackle the problem, not the person. Big. Explain what you observed. Some people say you have to be brutally honest. I don't know where the brutal came from. Can we just be honest with people? Okay. If your best friend did the thing, would you do this? Would you treat that person like you treat anybody else? Objective. Specific, that came up over here. SBI 3, you're going to learn how to do it specifically. Real example, sharing the facts. This morning I don't praise my daughters for their academics enough. I just don't. It's all about sports for whatever reason. It's all I see on Twitter and stuff, so I praise them on sports. But this morning, as I'm at the coffee shop reading over all this stuff, I sent her a text. I'm something I think I said, I really appreciate how much time you're putting in for finals this week. How you're getting up early. She wanted to get up at 5 a.m. Says no 14-year-old ever. So I read this slide and I sent her that text right away. So just being real specific, you can praise the effort as well. Timely. Don't delay, provided ASAP. Do not wait for the review. If you wait for the review, it's too late. Give the feedback before the review so they can correct the behavior before. The performance review, that's a whole separate session. Another 4 hours. That should be cool. If you're doing feedback right, the employee should look forward to the review. It should be a dialogue. It should be about building that person up. It should be about development, whatever it is. So feedback comes first. Enhances performance. If the feedback is not going to enhance performance, I would challenge you on why you're even giving feedback. The goal is to get better. It should be a reason, it should be a connection to the vision of the college, the core values, the goals of the student. Our regular Going back to the definition, frequent, informal, we said day-to-day feedback. Having regular checks, and don't wait for the review, don't wait for the finals, whatever it is. And if you notice when you look at all this stuff, I know you've learned a lot of this before. And the crazy thing is this stuff's not hard. It's actually fairly easy. You're all capable of doing all this stuff. What's hard is that we're all busy all the time. So what gets kicked to the side a lot of times is people. People get kicked to the side because you're doing tasks. And that's just normal. So it's like, how can you flip that and put people first and tasks second? Every role, every function, every responsibility is different. So how you do that is going to be different for everybody in here.
I think parent coaching can be hard. And not parent coaching from the stance that a lot of people question parent coaching. Parent coaching is, I can be too hard on my own kids.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the hard part. It's knowing when to turn off the game of basketball. Like, do you talk about it on the way to the gym or not? Do you talk about it on the way home or not? If you talk about it, what are you talking about? Are you questioning everything they did in practice that day? Or are you asking them, what did you learn today? What was your favorite part of practice today? What teammate impacted you the most? Those are good parent questions.
Yeah.
But it's not good when we just go on our own agenda and it's all about me and telling my daughter what she didn't do well. So I think that's a big challenge that I've learned, I'm growing through right now.
Because I'm sure it comes up at like the dinner table.
Absolutely.
Or
like, for sure.
Just playing outside. Maybe they're just doing like a friendly game and you're like, come on, you always do it. Like, come on.
Totally. And the other part is like, it's got to be their goal, not my goal.
Yeah.
Corporate lesson as well, like with your employees. Like the CEO can have this goal for somebody, but does that person actually want that to be their goal? It's no different with the kids and even my kids. It's like, it's okay if a girl doesn't want to play in college.
Yeah.
And you can still play AAU basketball because of what? You're going to learn team lessons, camaraderie, togetherness. You love the game, but you might not have that goal of being a Division I basketball player. That's fine.
Right.
And then that other girl that wants to be a Division I basketball player, you might lead and manage her a little bit differently because her goal is different. So that's another challenge as well. So you have to get to know each player. You just can't show up at practice and just coach and have it be your agenda the entire time.
Yeah.
Going through the whole COVID experience about 3 years ago, everything was shut down.
Yeah.
And I had a decision to make. Like everybody's, you got to pivot virtual. The virtual thing was not for me. I didn't pivot virtual. I did a couple of virtual gigs and it was boring to me. Yeah. Like I just couldn't do it.
Just talking to your computer.
Yeah. And then, everybody's on their phones and whatever. So I'm like, okay. So I stopped a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I decided to double down on my content.
Yeah.
So I made all of my content 20 times better, handouts, tools, resources, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So made the Keynote better, made the slide decks better, all that kind of stuff. So I spent really 18 months going all in on making my content better is what I did. And now I'm pretty much through creating a program called Fit to Lead.
Yep.
Where it's about 18 different workshops that build out into 3 different areas: leading yourself, leading people, and leading teams. I start with leading yourself because I don't believe you can lead others if you can't even lead yourself.
That's very true.
We all overlook our biggest leadership challenge, which is ourselves.
Yeah.
We always want to tell each other, well, what if we lead ourselves? Do you know your own personal core values? Are you committed to personal growth?
Yeah.
Are you executing and doing the things that you love to do each and every single day to get you to where you want to ultimately be?
Yeah.
So I'm also pivoting in the world of coaching a little more because I've always been this guy that's like, I just love speaking. I love workshops. But now I'm doing some one-on-one executive coaching.
Yeah. Is that what has been kind of like some crazy story on your speaking, as you're going from place to place, any kind of crazy stories you can give us?
Well, I can tell you the craziest story is the first day I ever had to speak since school.
Oh, yeah.
And it was at a banquet at Marquette University.
Good story.
And, I was the director of basketball ops for Marquette University. Coach Tom Crean wanted me to give out an award.
Yep.
In front of all these, millionaires, donors, boosters of the program and all this. And this was sometime, I think it's 2006 maybe. And it was 13 hours before the banquet. He walks in on his flip phone, tells me to give out this award. I said, yeah, no problem. But I was freaking out the whole day. I've never talked in front of people. I hid behind every camera. I hid behind every audience. I let everybody else lead. I just led from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I tried to memorize everything word for word on what I was going to say. I looked at the previous banquets on VHS tape, if you remember those. Right after the Jurassic period, those are from, right before the TikTok period.
Yeah.
And I even wrote everything down word for word, had it in my suit coat pocket, 7:52 p.m. sharp, my name gets called up to the front. And I froze. I didn't remember a word I was going to say. Joe was standing next to me. I was supposed to give the award to Joe Chapman. I just looked down and just shake my head. And the lights are bright. And I just said, and the award goes to Joe Chapman. I kept my head down. I walked to my table. I wanted to crawl in a hole and never see my peers ever again. That was my deepest crash. And I'm telling you right now, knowing now that I'm a paid speaker and this is my profession, I never would have guessed it in a million years. So the lesson is the area of your deepest wound can become the area of your greatest contribution.
Yeah.
But you got to get back up again.
But you have to get it. If you would have never touched a mic ever again.
Never. So
I
actually
be doing what you're doing every single day.
Exactly. Because the choices you make you. Life is what you do in the painful moments.
Yeah.
And I left Marquette because every time I walked into the basketball office, I thought they were thinking about that exact moment every single time. So I went to the University of Utah, got a little more comfortable, tried to lead some basketball camps in front of people. And this haunted me since the mid 80s. Like I couldn't sing the scale in front of my teacher, do, re, mi. I cried fa, sol, la, ti, do. I mean, it was a mess. You know, as captain of the high school basketball team, I remember, you know, they're all looking for you to say something.
Yeah.
And I sat in the huddle and said nothing. Like other people had to say stuff. You know,
So that affected like everything.
Everything. I sat in the back row of every single class. I never raised my hand. This is through college and everything. But something in me volunteered for a corporate orientation at the Wisconsin Athletic Club in about 2008, 2009.
Okay.
You know, the owners, one of the facilitators of this corporate orientation was leaving the company. And the owners brought the general managers together and they're like, hey, who wants to run this? He's leaving. And it was crickets for like 30 to 45 seconds. It felt like 20 hours.
Yeah.
And something in me just raised my hand to commit to this thing. And that was where I set an unintentional deadline to become a speaker, because I had to get up every 90 days and speak in front of these new hires all the time.
Yeah.
90 days plus 90 days plus 90 days. And I had to get better, better, better. And then all of a sudden somebody in the audience was a principal for the Grafton School District, one of the middle schools, and asked me to keynote one of their events back in the day to kick off the Grafton School District. And that was my first paid speaking gig.
Wow.
It was $1,000. And the superintendent came up to me and said, at a break, he's like, $1,000? This is a $5,000 talk.
Yeah.
Keep up the great work. I'm excited for the second half. And that's where I knew that this is where I was headed in my career. You don't arrive at, like, you never become a great speaker. Like, you can always strive to be better and better and better. So I had a humbling experience at Lambeau Field. I'm like, and you talked about a memorable moment speaking on the journey. And I was so jacked. Like, I'm speaking at Lambeau Field.
Yeah,
like,
dude,
it was so fun.
Green Bay Packers. For
Yeah.
those
If you don't know, yeah, right.
I'm talking about Green Bay Packers right now.
And I'm doing this event. I think it was for the Project Management Institute. And there was Packer players there hanging out and doing their thing. And after the gig, you know, you typically have like a line of some people that want to talk to you and say thank you or whatever and have a question about your content.
Yep.
So I talked to him, and there was this one guy that says, hey, I love talking to you, but you got to get out there. I'm like, okay, why? I said, there's a line out there for you. There's a line of people that want to buy a book and get autographs and all this kind of stuff. So I quick pack up my computer, my backpack and everything.
And you're at Lambeau.
I'm at Lambeau. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I get out there, and the line of people was to get autographs from the Green Bay Packers. There was one person waiting for me at my line, you know? And I'm like, the takeaway is, no matter how good you are right now,
you're
not where you could be.
Yeah.
There's no limit on better.
You could strive.
And that exactly. And it's not like it was a bad gig that day, but it just, that's the takeaway I had.
Yeah.
It's like, I can be better. I'm going to be better next time.
Did you run up to the table and just feel like all your stuff and be like,
I did. I felt like the biggest cheese ball. You know, I felt like my book was like, you take the F off of there.
Yeah.
That's what I was feeling like in that moment.
God,
so
only imagine.
Yeah.
Did they have any kind of security around there, around the table, being like, hey, Derek, I know you spoke, but you can't be rushing up the table.
Let's be honest, Jamar. There's no security around my table. Yeah. The other guys had some security.
Did you go see that one person, though?
I did. And that same person was the guy that gave me that standing ovation at the end. You know, it was priceless. So that was memorable. And the serious moment here is like, when I got out of basketball, all right, the piece of me that was missing was the competition, but also the preparation. I'm getting the competition by coaching girls basketball every single day.
Yeah.
The preparation I'm getting because I treat every single gig like I'm preparing for the NCAA tournament and the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
Every single one. Every single time I do shift, I'll tweak it. I know I did something a little off that I want to make better. And on top of that, it's like you're scouting for your opponent, but you're actually partnering with the business.
Gotcha.
I want to know everything I possibly can about that other company. Pre-surveying the event planner with 30 to 40 different questions.
Yep.
Sending the audience pre-questions, 2 to 3 different things. And you take that all, combine it all together, and then you just kind of perform.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not an hour. It's really, 40 hours that go into that 1 hour.
Exactly.
So that's really fun for me. I love that. I think I always just say, I kind of joke at the end, thank you at the end. And I say, I will stick around until I outnumber each and every one of you. And they all laugh, but I truly believe that. Like, unless I'm catching this quick plane, I will just sit at a table and just talk to people, bond with people, sign books, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I would say that I do after event. The other thing is, 48, 72 hours later, I love to just schedule a follow-up phone call with the event planner.
See how it went.
And see how it went. They'll hopefully give me some honest feedback.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the post-event feel. And then the other thing is, like, some people like just different niches. Like, so I'm speaking, let's say it's an annual meeting.
Yeah.
And then maybe before, after the event, they want their managers or leaders to learn how to speak better, learn how to run a meeting better. So I can take some of those core just management, supervisor, executive topics and just kind of go in a private coaching room with a small group and just work with them on a topic. So that's fun to do before or after an event as well.
For sure. No, that's cool. That's cool. And where's everything going next for Derek? So I know you got the book coming out. Like, what's the next 5-10 years look like for you?
I wish I could answer that. That's probably a big weakness of mine, is like, I know my vision is to move people from frustrated to fulfilled.
Yeah. Just
that's
like
my
you
vision.
yourself too. So
exactly.
You're speaking directly from personal experience.
They asked, why did you write a book on of going from frustrated to fulfilled? It's because I always say that I was frustrated.
Yeah.
And to get myself out of frustration, I wrote myself out of frustration.
Yeah.
People don't understand is I failed my ACT exam in high school. A lot of people say, well, you can't fail one of those. Well, yeah, you can. Trust me. Last time I checked, a 19 over 36 is failing.
Yeah.
Do the math.
Yeah.
Oh, just retake it. It's going to be good. Okay, 20 out of 36. That's failing.
Yeah.
Reading and writing was awful.
Yeah.
So like between that crash on stage and then the failure of reading and writing in high school, I don't know. That was my frustration. I just want to inspire people that they can dig themselves out of those trenches each and every single day. So what's next? I don't know. I can tell you what's next. It's publishing book number 2. I'm super pumped about it.
Yep.
I'm excited to get on stages with it.
Yeah.
I think, people, you hear people say, oh yeah, everybody's a leader. Well, this is a book that's like, no, I'm going to prove to you and show you that you are a leader. And if you're not the leader that you want to be, you can be that leader each and every freaking single day, regardless of whether you're managing somebody or not. On what I've really tried to do for myself, and I really try to help others do, is this whole concept of work-life integration, which I call work-life fusion. And if I was to rename it today, I would almost call it work-life focus.
Okay.
So at a lot of the events, like, we talk about personal values. I always say, raise your hand if you know your personal core values. Typically 4 out of 100 people raise their hand. And I said, raise your hand if you've ever heard personal core values are important. Everybody raises their hand.
Yeah.
But nobody takes the time to form them and make them real.
Yeah.
So we go through like a 15 or 20 minute activity, depending on what it is, to form their personal core values. And by the end, that's gear 1. By the end, we get to gear 5, which is that work-life fusion integration. And then we pull out their work values, their company's values, their organization's values, and we have them look at them. And if you can see some weavement and alignment there, you're winning. And I want people to leave at the end of this gig being like, that's why I work at that company. I work there because my values match their values. I work there because I can bring my authentic self to work each and every single day, and nobody's going to judge me because of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I leave it. You're not turning on and off yourself based on work or life. I'm just going to be myself every single day.
And that's more, and because people say balance, but you're changing it to fusion.
Yeah, because balance, I remember I was in Disney once and they're like, balance. You must have had a really balanced life when you were in Disney for a week. I said, balance? No. Balance is an even distribution of weight.
Yeah.
Disney, eating bad, going on rides, all time with my family. I didn't work out. I didn't work. I didn't write my book. I didn't read any personal development materials. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's work-life fusion, which is family matters to me. That's why I'd prefer work-life focus now, because I focused 100% on my family that day.
Yeah. At that time.
At that time, and in that moment, I was 100% truly there.
Most important
right.
to you. Yeah.
And then when I go to work, I'm going all in on work.
Yeah.
When I go to coach my girls back, I'm going all in on that.
Yeah.
And all those things weave and blend together, and that's who I am, and that's like that work-life integration piece. I see this productivity app, Medium sends me this, or Inc. 7 productivity apps you need for 2023 or 2024, and I'm just like, that's the problem. Like, I don't need another productivity app. I need nothing, and I need a piece of paper and to just get clear and to write down my 7 priorities and then open up my calendar and be like, do they fit in or not?
Yeah.
And where do they fit in? And which one should fit in first? Right now, it's like everyday leaders, my book, writing 500 words. So there's a sacrifice. There's maybe a little less time spent with my family during those moments.
Yeah.
But when I write in, I literally will print off a 30-day calendar, a 31-day calendar every single month, and I will write in the one thing that I need to get done that day. And I do that thing. And if I go to bed at that night, knowing I got that one thing done every single day,
you're good.
It's a success.
Yeah.
And it aligns with whatever it was to move somebody from frustrated to fulfilled.
You do that every single day?
Every single...
Even the weekends?
The 15th, every single day. The 15th of the month, I write in the calendar for the next month. So right now, we're in roughly July, August, so I'm working on writing September handwritten calendar together.
Wow. That's discipline.
It's old school.
That's
I told you, man, I'm in my 40s. Old school works for me. But I can't, when I just open my Google Calendar and I look at everything on there, I'm like, how can I get clear? I can't get clear looking at that thing.
Yeah.
But when I write it and then pop it in there in these big time blocks, it's not so stressful anymore. I mean, we talked about so many other things, but you're going to walk away being able to execute. You're going to get stuff done. Chapter 7, I go through behaviors. Behavior number 1 is do it afraid. So it's about the middle, okay? So your core values, this is who I am. Your vision is where you're going. A lot of people say the start is the hardest part. The start's not the hardest part. Ask a surgeon if the incision was the hardest part.
Yeah.
The middle's the hardest part. The grind, the getting up and saying, I'm going to do it afraid. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to write 500 words. So it's knowing it's a system on execution to get something done, to live your vision, really.
Yeah.